Greetings. It is Wednesday, August the 5th, about 3:27. If you're seeing this video, it means I did not have a miraculous recovery. I've been febrile since about Saturday, and yes, I did see a doctor, and I started antibiotics, but just not getting better. My current temperature, hold on, I'm going to take it for you right now. Let's see, I have one of these ear devices that the pediatricians use. It is, let's see, oh, only 101, so not so bad. Yeah. Anyway, so I was not able to get an alternative for these lectures, so I figured let me see what I can do using technology. For those of you who have heard a few of my talks, this is a little awkward for me because I like to be very, very interactive. And obviously I can't do that. What I will do is paste the links to both of these presentations on the Blackboard site, as well as you can email me with any questions regarding obesity or asthma, and I'll post my responses to sort of the aggregate questions. I'll send an email to the whole class or something like that. So anyway, not ideal, but hopefully this will work. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about obesity. The other thing that I'd like to do as part of this talk is show you a few clips from the movie Super Size Me. I don't know how many people have seen that. Usually when I ask the question, at least half the class has seen the movie. Basically what it is, it's a documentary about this guy, Morgan Spurlock, who decided he would eat nothing but McDonald's for 30 days. The rationale behind the movie, besides to make a documentary, was to see what happened to his body if he ate nothing but McDonald's. So he had all these rules, like he could only do regular exercise, he had to eat everything on the menu, he had to eat everything he was given, and if they asked him to supersize it, he would have to supersize it. And so a lot of the movie is about sort of the fast food industry, but there's a whole lot of good stuff about the obesity epidemic in this country. So I want to show you a few clips from that. By the way, he got the idea from a lawsuit. One of the lawyers was from GW, actually, and the idea was the two teenage girls sued McDonald's for their health conditions, and they lost the case, but in the ruling the judge basically said had they only ate McDonald's, then maybe they would have a case. Since they had eaten other foods other than McDonald's, they didn't really have a case. So that's sort of what gave him this idea. Anyway, it's a great movie. It's somewhat funny too, so it's not like this, torturous documentary, but it's a really good movie. It's a lot of fun about his experience, but also there's a bunch of clips that, in my mind, help explain the obesity epidemic. So I'm going to show you a few of those now.
Everything's bigger in America. We've got the biggest cars, the biggest houses, the biggest companies, the biggest food, and finally, the biggest people. America has now become the fattest nation in the world. Congratulations. Nearly 100 million Americans are today either overweight or obese. That's more than 60% of all U.S. adults. Since 1980, the total number of overweight and obese Americans has doubled, with twice as many overweight children and 3 times as many overweight adolescents. The fattest state in America? Mississippi, where 1 in 4 people are obese. I grew up in West Virginia, currently the 3rd fattest state in America. When I was growing up, my mother cooked dinner every single day. Almost all my memories of her are in the kitchen. And we never ate out, only on those few rare special occasions. Today, families do it all the time, and they're paying for it, not only with their wallets, but with their waistlines. Obesity is now second only to smoking as a major cause of preventable death in America, with more than 400,000 deaths per year associated with related illnesses. In 2002, a few Americans got fed up with being overweight and did what we do best. They sued the bastards.
So I think you can see that there were a lot of factors relating to obesity. Clearly, it is an epidemic in our country. It will soon surpass smoking as the leading preventable cause of death, and we've already talked about smoking. So we'll talk a little bit later about some of the causes of obesity and how that, I'll show you a couple more clips. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to a couple of guest stars.
I'm Natalie. doing very good while he teaches you. And I'm 5 Virgil.
5. Very good. All right, Allison. Good.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm 8 years old, and I hope you have a great year with my with my dad. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay. Hopefully you appreciated the brief comic relief there. But now we do need to talk about the topic at hand, which is actually quite serious. So first, definition of obesity. There's a lot of different ways to measure fat. If you were in college at some point or high school, they probably did the skin calibers. The actual most accurate way is to dunk you in a tank of water using the Archimedes principle, but the problem is it has to be standardized. It's very inconvenient. Imagine yourself a primary care physician, with one room dedicated to a bathtub that you'd have to clean out after each patient use. So that doesn't work. They also are using now, which is becoming more popular, what's called impedance. So in other words, fat and muscle conduct electricity differently, and so you can measure sort of percent body fat that way. Now they have these scales at Bed Bath & Beyond and stores like that, where in addition to giving you weight, it actually gives you percent body fat. But what we usually use is body mass index. It correlates. We use it for a number of reasons. And body mass index, as you can see on the slide, is kilograms divided by height in meters squared. Since we don't like to use the British system, there you can see what the fudge factors are. There's lots of different charts and wheels and stuff like that. So if you don't have it on your Palm Pilot, you should make sure that your preceptor at least has these charts readily available so you can calculate the patient's BMI. They're relatively accurate for most patients. Certainly if you're a bodybuilder, and BMI is not going to work well. But for most patients that we're talking about, BMI is actually pretty good. The other reason why we use it is because it correlates very well with morbidity. If you can see in this slide, the blue is type 2 diabetes, the red is hypertension, and the yellow is dyslipidemia. And as the BMI goes up, these diseases go up in incidence. And then finally, it correlates really well with mortality. The higher your BMI, the increased risk of dying. You'll notice this is a J-shaped curve, meaning that you can be too thin. Obviously, you see that in patients with cachexia or anorexia, things like that. The other thing that we look at is central adiposity. So waist circumference is another marker. So waist greater than 35 in women, 40 in men. And I believe I showed you this slide or these pictures when we talked about diabetes, but there's something magical about that visceral abdominal fat. Again, you see the normal patient with the same BMI as the diabetic patient, and there's something about that fat that causes problems. Again, I think I showed you this slide as well when we talked about diabetes, showing you that that fat cell is not just an inert blob, literally. It's very metabolically active and causes all sorts of factors, and probably is the connection between obesity and type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So what you do is you stratify patients. You look at their BMI. There's very few numbers that I want you to memorize, but one of them is BMI. So overweight is defined as a BMI greater than 25. Obese is a BMI greater than 30. Those are the two numbers that you should know. You also look for comorbidity. So for someone who's obese, let's say a BMI with 30, but they have complications like diabetes or severe osteoarthritis, they would have a higher risk factor, and that might change your treatment.